the only model trains with Magna Traction, proudly present the Joe DiMaggio Show. Starring the Yankee Clipper, Joe DiMaggio himself, with Jack Barry.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jack Barry, inviting all you kids from 6 to 60 to another meeting here at the Lionel Clubhouse. This meeting is presided over by our honorary president, the famous Yankee Clipper, Joltin' Joe DiMaggio. As usual, Joe will run through some of our club member sports problems, and he'll introduce us to a famous guest star from the world of sports. And now, here he is, the famous Yankee Clipper himself, Joltin' Joe DiMaggio.
Thanks again, Jack. And once again, it's question time in the Lionel Clubhouse. Who's the first batter?
What was the first football bowl game, Joe?
The Rose Bowl, Tony. They began that one way back around 1902. After that came the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and the Cotton Bowl in that order.
Joe, in football, I know you can have only 7 men on the line of offense. But what about defense? Can you have 8?
You sure can. When they've got you backed up near your goal line, you can throw an 8-man line against them. Or maybe even 9 if you must.
Joe, who can hit a ball farther? A baseball player socking a baseball or a golfer socking a golf ball?
Well, it has nothing to do with the guy doing the socking, Billy. It's all on the ball. A golf ball will travel up to 900 feet, and the longest home run goes a little more than 400.
I read in the paper once, Joe, about a double play going around the horn. What did they mean?
Well, Tony, that means the long way around. The longest possible infield double play. By that I mean the ball is hit to the third baseman, he throws to second, and back to first to complete the double play. Well, fellas, that's just about all the time we have for questions today.
Hey, Joe, how's the meeting going?
Hi, Jack. Fine, just swell. How about telling the story about the young friend of yours and the dream he had that came true?
Well, yes, Joe, it's a wonderful story, and I'll bet that all of our club members have had the same dream at one time or another. Well, Tommy knew exactly what he wanted for Christmas. He wanted an electric train. He had the whole thing in his mind, even to the table where he was going to set it up. Sitting there at the table, he could picture the whole thing, and he would dream so hard that the whole thing would come to life right before his eyes. Of course, Tommy was a pretty strong wisher, and what he started wishing for was a pretty fancy-looking train set with locomotive and freight cars, and the station and the gateman, the water tower, and all kinds of wonderful equipment and accessories. So grand that you might think Tommy was wishing for something that just didn't exist. But Tommy knew what he was wishing for. And sure enough, on Christmas morning, Tommy's dream came true. Because Tommy had told his father that he wanted Lionel, just the low-priced Lionel Scout train set with a few Lionel accessories. Yes, even the simplest of Lionel train sets and track layouts is a wonderful, thrilling, complete model railroad. That's because it's made by Lionel. Lionel, the originator of the electric model train, makers of the most realistic, scale-detailed model train equipment. Lionel, the only model train with Magna Traction. So, boys, if you're wishing for a model railroad for Christmas, and I know you are, be sure to tell your dad you want a Lionel railroad, because Lionel gives you the most real-looking trains and accessories, which are the most fun for all.
And now, fellas, we've got something a little different for today's program, and I think you're going to enjoy it. I know many of you have a pup or you're going to have one. And so we've invited one of the country's best dog trainers to tell you a little bit about raising a dog. And here he is, Fred Graw. Welcome to the Lionel Clubhouse, Fred.
Thanks, Joel. I've been looking forward to this because I love to talk to the kids about dogs.
Oh, that's swell. Tell us, Fred, how long have you been training dogs?
Oh, about 12 years, Joe. And I guess there hasn't been a single breed that I haven't observed or worked with.
All of which certainly should qualify you as a canine connoisseur. And speaking about breeds, is there any particular kind of dog which is easiest to train or raise?
Well, I don't think there's any particular type of breed, Joe, that's easier to train. Maybe boxers because I'm prejudiced, or poodles. But a dog doesn't have to be a purebred dog or a thoroughbred. Any dog with intelligent handling will make a fine dog.
Well, how old should a pup be when they start training it, and what are some of the simple things that any boy can teach any dog?
Oh, the pup should be about 6 to 8 months before you start training, Joe. And you ought to teach him to heel, to stay, to come, and to lie down.
And how long should this take, Fred?
Oh, for about the simple things I've outlined, Joe, about 2 to 3 months.
And now, Fred, you promised you'd bring one of your dogs for a demonstration. Did you keep your promise?
I sure did, Joe. Do you think we could have a little more room?
Well, of course we can. Say, kids, will you move this table over 4 or 5 feet?
Okay, Byron, come. Byron, heel. Byron, heel. Good boy. Stay. Byron, come. Down. Sit. Byron, stay. Byron, fetch it. That's a good boy. Byron, heel.
Hey, that was a nice demonstration, Fred. And now, we've also got some very nice film about dog obedience. How would you like to look at it along with the kids?
Well, I sure would, Joe.
Rusty, will you turn on the projector?
Raising a dog properly demands the proper attitude on the part of the owner as well as the pup. For no matter if he's pedigreed for 10 generations back or just plain pooch, he's got to have the right training. Big or small, rare or popular breed, dogs are intelligent. They'll react with surprising swiftness to your efforts. Each year in America, hundreds of dog shows prove that selective breeding and the right kind of handling will produce a magnificent animal and pet. Out of these shows has come a new type of competition, the obedience trial, where alertness, companionship, and response to commands are the sole standards of judging. Schooling dogs to the obedience ring takes patience, kindness, and perhaps a bit of homespun understanding of canine psychology. Here, a class in the New England Dog Training Club under Bert Turnquist deliberately mills around their dogs so they can get used to each other. Dogs, you see, have to become acquainted too. After getting his pupils in line, the instructor selects a dog for demonstration purposes, shows the class how the animal should be made to stay. Now the owners take over and practice the same thing. A soft, firm voice and gesture of the hand is all you really need. But like anything else, it takes practice. The owners must continue their training at home. After a while, your pet will become precision perfect in response to your slightest command. This is another phase of obedience work. The class lines up the dogs and orders them to stay. Then the handlers walk off and command the dogs to come. There's a lot of fun in training your dog in obstacle work. After a while, he'll take jumps beautifully. Watch the almost effortless grace of this French poodle as it skims the barriers. Of course, once in a while, your pet will exhibit a sort of burst of temperament, but don't we all? Here now is a highly interesting obedience test. The class gets all the dogs into a center group, then the handlers will make a circle surrounding the dogs and walk around them leisurely. Commands have been given for the dogs to stay. Now at a signal from each individual handler, his own dog will leave the center and join him in the circle. But until he gets that command, the dog will calmly and patiently wait his turn. Proof indeed that obedience training will pay off with a pleasure-packed future.
Well, fellas, I know that you all enjoyed those films on dog obedience. And now for some more fun, suppose we take another look in on our Lionel engineer.
Now, boys, I'm going to show you why Lionel trains are better. I'm going to show you how carefully they're made, and how well they're put together, and how they operate. For example, look at the head of this typical Lionel locomotive. The smoke box door hinges, pilot steps, the uncoupling rod. They're exactly duplicated. And see how this drop coupler and air hose are simulated. And notice these handrails of stainless steel. And now look at the steam valves and side gears. Every part is modeled to the most minute detail. Now look at these wheels. They're all steel, mind you, and have a high adhesion surface, better traction. And of course, they also have magnetraction. That's a magnetic force that holds the wheels to the rails to give you increased power, higher speed, and more climb. Fellas, these are just a few of the details that show you how Lionel trains are made better and put together better so that they will look better and operate better. And speaking of magnetraction, I know you boys want to learn more about this new development in model railroading. So we've made up this book on magnetraction called The Magic of Magnetraction. It tells you what it is and how it works, and it's packed full of pictures and information to help you to have more fun with your model railroad. Now, all you have to do to get this free book is send your name and address to Joe DiMaggio. That's Joe DiMaggio, care of the Lionel Corporation, 15 East 26th Street, New York 10, New York.
And by the way, boys, you can get a complete Lionel train set, locomotive, tender, cars, track, and transformer for as little as $14.95. Larger Lionel sets are moderately priced, too. And they all have magnetraction.
And now, folks, this is Joe DiMaggio saying so long for our gang here at the Lionel Clubhouse. See you again next week at the same time.